Wow, guys, JD Vance just went to CNN, NBC, ABC, and CBS, and he told them all the same thing. When Trump leads, the world follows. Peace doesn't come from weakness, it comes from strength. You guys gotta check this video out.
And joining me now is the Vice President of the United States, JD Vance. Mr. Vice President, welcome back to Meet the Press.
Good morning, Kristen. Thanks for having me.
Well, it is good to have you on this monumental Sunday, Mr. Vice President. Let's start right there with the peace agreement in the Middle East. President Trump said this week, quote, "We have ended the war in Gaza." Mr. Vice President, do you see this moment as an end to the war in Gaza?
Well, I do, Kristen. We're going to have to do a lot of work to make sure that it stays ended. But I also have to give your network a little bit of grief, Kristen, because last night I was watching NBC. They were covering this, and they mentioned that during a rally last night in Israel, when Steve Witkoff, our great special envoy, mentioned Bibi Netanyahu, the crowd booed. But the broadcast didn't mention that when Steve Witkoff mentioned President Trump, the crowd actually cheered. And why is that, Kristen? Why did the crowd cheer? Because this moment came from very, very deliberate and consequential diplomacy from the president and the entire administration. The reason why we are at this moment, Kristen, is because the president of the United States, he gave unusual authorities to people who had never been in diplomacy before. He actually broke the mold. Instead of doing diplomacy the same old way that it had failed for the past 30 or 40 years, he gave Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner a remarkable amount of authority to go and get a peace deal done. And he worked hard on everybody from the Israelis to the Gulf Arab states to make this happen. This was very hard. This was a long time coming. It required a lot of work. But yes, I believe that we are on the cusp of peace in Gaza for the first time, not just in a couple of years, but really in a very long time, because the President of the United States has done something that no other world leader has been able to do: unite the Israelis with the Gulf Arab states for a common objective, and that is to bring the hostages home, to stop the war, and to build the kind of long-term settlement that we really do believe can lead to a lasting peace.
Really quick, guys, that's the longest I've ever heard a Republican get to speak out against Kristen Welker when she asks a question. This is letting me know that JD Vance is a good 2028 candidate. Not only for one reason, is because he's a part of the team that goes out there and not only talks about it, right? They go and they make it happen. That's the difference between a politician and a leader. You know, those old guys talked about peace. Trump, JD Vance, that team right there is unstoppable. They go out and they make it happen. Let's keep going, guys. Make sure you're liking the video. Don't forget to please comment. I read everything. I just want to have a conversation with you guys. Let's go.
Of course, we have covered every twist and turn of these negotiations extensively. I do want to ask you about this historic next step, Mr. Vice President, that we are anticipating: the release of the hostages. Can you tell me exactly when are the hostages going to be released? When will we see them?
Well, it really should be any moment now, Kristen. The President of the United States is planning to travel to the Middle East to greet the hostages Monday morning Middle Eastern time, which should be late, Sunday night or very early Monday morning here in the United States. So you can't say exactly the moment they will be released, but we have every expectation. That's why the president is going, that he will be greeting the hostages early next week. It's a monumental thing. It's great, of course, for their families. But I really do think that it shows what happens when you go outside the traditional failed diplomatic routes and actually try something new. It's kind of crazy to me, Kristen, that for our entire history, we've never had a president who's been willing to sit down both with the Gulf Arab states and the Israelis to try to tap some unconventional people to just get a deal done. And I think Americans should be proud of the entire administration. They should be proud of their country, because we've worked so hard to make peace in the Middle East happen, and we are right on the cusp of bringing these hostages home. It'll be a great moment for our country, a great moment for the world. But I really do think the lesson here is that Donald Trump refused to go down the failed traditional diplomatic pathway. He cut his own Trump diplomatic pathway, and because that...
She's not listening. I know you guys can see that. We can go. I'm not gonna go back. We can go back if you guys won't. But she's not listening. You hear her 2 times. She tries to interrupt him. After she reads her paper, she reads her script, remembers it, then she goes out. She tries to speak in the middle of him actually dropping knowledge, actually answering the question. I mean, I wouldn't have done this if I was JD Vance. I would have went to Fox News and called it a day. Maybe went on Joe Rogan again or something like that.
That was successful.
Let me ask you about what we can anticipate from the United States. NBC News is reporting that the U.S. military is preparing options to deploy as many as 200 troops to Israel to support the flow of humanitarian aid and security assistance into Gaza. Can you guarantee that no U.S. troops will ever be sent directly into Gaza, Mr. Vice President?
We're not doing that.
Yeah, Kristen, so that report actually missed something. We're not planning to put boots on the ground. What we already have is a U.S. Central Command. We already have people in that region of the world. They're going to monitor the terms of the ceasefire. They're going to monitor, ensure the humanitarian aid is flowing. They actually confirmed yesterday that Israel pulled back to the agreed upon lines, which of course is the first condition. The second condition, or the second term, is for the hostages to be released. So we have people in that region of the world who are going to monitor parts of this peace proposal, but the president is not planning to put boots on the ground in Israel.
What about Gaza? Will U.S. troops ever be sent into Gaza? Just yes or no?
That's what I mean, Kristen. He is not planning to put boots on the ground in Gaza or Israel.
Okay.
We're going to have Central Command troops that are already there that are going to monitor this peace proposal. We've actually had, and this is one of the great successes of the president's diplomacy, from Indonesia to the Gulf Arab states.
Okay.
We've had a number of Muslim majority countries offer to step up and have them put troops on the ground to secure Gaza. It's not going to be necessary for American troops to be in Gaza.
Okay, I do want to turn to the big news here back at home, the ongoing government shutdown. I want to play you a little bit of what President Trump had to say about shutdowns past when Barack Obama was president. Take a look.
If there is a shutdown, I think it would be a tremendously negative mark on the President of the United States.
They're not going to be talking who the head of the House was, the head of the Senate. I really think the pressure is on the president.
If you were president, what would you do?
Well, very simply, you have to get everybody in a room. You have to be a leader. The president has to lead. You have to get the people in a room, and you have to get a deal.
So, two things that I took from that, because I knew this was coming sooner or later. The biggest thing I would have to say from that is Trump, he was younger back then. Now he's lived, he's grown so much, and the law has changed so much. People change, and they threw a lot of court cases at him. So now, what makes you think these people would disagree with him to keep the government open if it makes him look bad? These people close the government to make him look like a horrible person. Everything doesn't go as planned, but the plan always is to get everything done. Let's keep going, guys.
Mr. Vice President, by President Trump's own calculus,
doesn't change the goal.
The pressure is on him to get everyone into a room and get a deal, is it not?
Well, Kristen, I wouldn't focus on the political pressure to get a deal. We really don't care what the poll numbers say.
But what about what President Trump said?
What's good for the
What
American
about what
people.
Mr. Trump said, his own words?
Well, Kristen, the president was talking back then when Barack Obama was president about the political realities. We are focused now on the governing realities because we're in power and we're trying to make the American people's government work for the American people, despite the fact that Chuck Schumer and the Democrats have shut down the government. Yeah. We have to step back and remember, Kristen, that there is a clean bill to open the United States government. The vast majority of Republicans and even a few moderate Democrats voted to open the government, but it's Chuck Schumer and the far left of Senate Democrats who have prevented this government from reopening. Now, you talk about negotiation. We're happy to negotiate about any matter. We're happy to talk about health care policy, but not while the government is being held hostage, Kristen. This is not abstract. This is not something that's pie in the sky. There are low-income women and children who will not get the food benefits they need to feed their families unless we reopen the government. We're trying to figure out how to pay our troops in the midst of this shutdown to keep our country safe and to make sure that our troops get their payments. We have got to reopen the government, and the president is committed to this. In fact, we've got a bill in the House that already passed the House. We want to make sure that bill passes the Senate, but not so long as Chuck Schumer allows the entire country to be hijacked by a few far left senators.
Mr. Vice President, we still have a lot to get to. You are in power, and the administration has begun layoffs of thousands of federal workers. And yet, during the 2019 shutdown under the first Trump administration, which lasted 35 days, no federal workers were laid off. Why are these firings necessary?
Well, I just think it shows the different priorities of Democrats and Republicans in the midst of these shutdowns. You really have to ask yourself, who do we care more about? Federal bureaucrats in Washington, D.C., or low-income women getting the food benefits they deserve, our troops getting the payment they need, flood insurance across the Southeast in the midst of hurricane season?
But laying
We are
people
going
off
to
is
have
a
to lay off some
priority?
federal workers. Kristen, if you would let me finish. We have to lay off some federal workers in the midst of this shutdown to preserve the essential benefits for the American people that the government does provide. So we don't want to be in this situation. We don't want to be laying off federal workers, but the Democrats have shut down the government. They have forced us to choose between American citizens and federal bureaucrats. We're choosing the benefits, the critical services that benefit our American citizens.
You guys can say whatever you want about Trump, but time after time he delivers. Peace abroad, peace at home, and a zero tolerance for any type of BS. And zero apologies for putting Americans first. Let me know what you guys think about this video. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe if you're new. And as always, let me know what you react to. We're out.